So I'm going to go ahead and start this interview with a confession.
Okay.
I've never been to Canada.
Really?
But I hear wonderful things about it.
Canada is great. You've probably heard really truthful things about Canada.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's clean. It's safe.
I hear the
People are
shopping's
friendly.
phenomenal.
Shopping's great.
Totally. Yeah, the big stuff, especially the big cities in Canada, like, I think that they're very comparable to, like, big American cities, but you do notice a really big difference as soon as you get to Canada, like, especially, like, Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. There is something very Canadian about it. Like, it's just friendlier, there's more space, the air is very clean, you know, it just feels different. But you're far, it's okay, you're, like, quite a distance from Canada here,
Yeah,
so.
but still, like, if I planned a trip with my boyfriend, what city would you recommend? Because you guys are living in different cities right now.
I mean, I'd say, it's closer to head to Toronto, and if you had time, you guys could pop to Montreal as well, because they're about 5 hours apart, and you can take the train, which is beautiful, and I think those are the two biggest cities, and Vancouver is really far. I mean, that's a far west coast. That's like flying to Seattle, basically. So
That's right.
Vancouver is gorgeous, but I think if your first trip to Canada with your boyfriend, you should head to Toronto and Montreal.
See, I wasn't going to insult you because I've been to Niagara Falls, but I know that doesn't really constitute.
Not really.
It's close. I mean, you've been to the border. I mean, I would count that.
Yeah?
Yeah, you've been to Canada.
I think I was like 12. I have a picture with the big bangs that proves it. But.
Amazing.
And for those that don't know, obviously you guys are twin sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the best part about working with family? What's the worst part about working with family?
Well, we have had a lot of experience now working outside of this band, you know, collaborating with other people and working on projects we've both produced, we've both written with other people. For me, we have a very specific thing that we do, and I think that because the common goals and the connectedness and the intimacy and the sort of loyalty that's just embedded now into this project, I think that the rewards feel better, like they feel bigger, they feel more satisfying. We've had lots of really cool opportunities, and we've had lots of, like, I don't know, fun successes with other people, but it's sort of like, oh God, I don't know, it's almost like getting teamed up with like a partner for like an ice skating competition, and you win, and you're like, well, that was great, I'm glad this all worked out, see you later, you know. Whereas with Tegan, it's like we've been really working at this our whole lives, so we're like these kind of like lifelong musical collaborators. And when you get a success, or even sometimes when you have failure sounds so harsh, but when you have disappointments, it's not as, I think it's like you have each other to support through that disappointment or through that success, and it just makes it more rewarding.
Because you guys have been busting your ass for 13 years. People, I'm sure they're not like, Heartthrob is your 7th album.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're very, like, it's so funny because for us it's like a relief that there are still humans who have not heard our music, because there are years where I just was like, how many more interviews could we possibly do? Like, people must be so bored, but I think it's just because we were in one scene, and now that we've expanded and we've done dance collaborations and rock collaborations, and now into the pop world, it's like, oh wow, each scene has like a whole like ecosystem that we didn't know about. And I think that, you know, there were a lot of years where we were busting our ass, but really what we were doing was laying foundation. Like, Sarah and I saw firsthand that without a lot of like passion and hard work and connection with your audience, your fame, your success could be very fleeting.
Yeah.
You know, I can't tell you, we could sit here, you know, for the next 7 hours and talk about all the bands that were going to be so huge or who had that big moment and it disappeared, because I think people crumble under the pressure. And we're here to monitor, we're constantly pushing the people around us, saying, like, you can't push us to the breaking point, we can't say yes to everything, we have to protect our brand. Our brand is us. It's real. It's like Tegan and Sara. It's like you get the real deal, and if we push too hard or we take too big a leaps and we don't keep that connection with the audience, I truly believe we could lose it all. So we've taken our time. It's like 13 years, but it wasn't like on year 3 we were like, how come this isn't happening? We were like, okay, our next step is this, and then, you know, the next step is this. So each record we had like a very clear, succinct idea of what we needed to accomplish in order to take the next, you know, step.
It's so funny you said about not saying yes to everything, because we just did something on air the other day, the 23 things women need to stop doing.
Right.
And one of them was saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
Because you can't. You just physically, mentally,
we're told there's this like weird idea out there, and I know it's for every industry, and I know it's specifically probably very much a woman thing, but like, whereas like you feel like this is your only opportunity, if you say no, they'll pass you up and they'll go to someone else. And we luckily have some really wonderful mentors in this industry, and they're the first to say, like, you know, here's an example of like what happens when you don't say no.
Yeah.
And so we've been lucky, but there's this panicky thing. Every time we say no to something, I'm like, oh God, is this going to be it?
I'm the same way. And then I said no once, and I found out they actually respect you more for setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Sure. I think in a lot of cases you have to really follow your gut because nobody wants you to say yes and hate it the whole time. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think when you really are invested in doing something, you do a better job at it.
Oh, for sure.
You just do, you know. And if you're doing something out of obligation, and I think this applies to both personal life and professional life. If you're doing something out of obligation, you know, there's a totally different tone. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't sometimes turn out to be something really special. I mean, we've done lots of things that I didn't want to do, and then,
Yeah.
and I've later in retrospect thought, oh, geez, that was a really important part of our career, or
That was a smart move.
that was a big deal. But there's other stuff where you just really have to listen to your gut.
Yeah.
What's the most recent collaboration you've done where you were pinching yourself like, I can't believe I'm collaborating with this person?
We just at the beginning of this tour. We performed with Taylor Swift, and that was super cool. And I mean, it was less of a collaboration in terms of like we didn't write anything with her,
Yeah.
do like something original with her. She brought us up on stage at her show to play a song, one of our songs, and that was surreal for me just because I think a lot of the stuff that we've done feels fairly. It's either in our world or just like kind of like just slightly outside of our world. Even though electronic music, for example, is not necessarily what we do, we're very interested in it. Often we're at festivals playing with electronic music artists. You know, we're on the same stages, whatever it is. So even though we've done a lot of work in that world, it's always felt sort of appropriate. There was something really bizarre about suddenly being transported to this totally different world of pop music, and
the audience is completely
audience
different.
is entirely different,
Yep.
and the response to the music is
Yep.
very different. So that was something that I mean, I was really struck by how powerful it felt, how powerful it was, how grateful I felt for the opportunity. And I really like Taylor. I think that she's so smart, and
She's a good businesswoman.
she's a great
on top of a good
businesswoman. She's a
performer.
great songwriter, great businesswoman. I love the way she interacts with her audience, and mostly what's been interesting for me is to see the way the audience responds to her. You know, and she doesn't take advantage of the power she has. Like, she could say anything to those people and they will like take it, you know, like, and she chooses to be a really great role model and be very positive, and I really like her.
Okay, this is totally random, by the way. My brother just gave birth to twins not that long
God,
ago.
no kidding.
Had a little boy and a little girl. I got a niece and a nephew. They actually turn 1 next month. So I've been talking to lots of parents of twins, trying to help them with advice. But it would be cool to ask actual twins. Do you have any advice for my brother as he raises twins?
Well, I think that probably being a boy and girl, that's already like 50% maybe, not better, because I think our experience is really unique and amazing, but like, I think the biggest mistakes, at least in my opinion, that people seem to make about twins is not allowing them to be independent, but also not forcing them apart. Like, when Sarah and I were forced apart, we were totally traumatized. Like, so, I think that there's a bond there that you can't just, force.
It's
like,
it's formed at birth.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly.
formed before birth, like
Totally,
when you're in the womb.
But I think like with boy and girl twins, there's a little less pressure on them because you're gonna have different social circles probably. But I don't know. I mean, my advice is that like the things that I remember most are all of these amazing shared experiences. I mean, there is something so special about being a twin, and we have good friends who just had twins, and they're like already like they're boys, but they're fraternal, and they're like they don't want to tell them who came out first because they don't want it to like mark them like you were the bigger one or you were the first one. So I don't know, like I think that's what makes us special is the things that made us twins. So like I don't know, I think it's just encouraging the kids to set their boundaries about how different they want to be or how not different, and don't dress them the same. That's the other thing, because we never were dressed the same, and I think that
helped with the individuality.
Yeah, but then we would choose to look the same on certain occasions too. Like when Sarah picked out her snowsuit, one winter, I wanted the same one, and my parents were fine with that. They didn't force us to be different, and they also didn't force us to be the same. They just let us do our thing.
I was reading your all's bio, and it made
Just
me
a light rain out there today at
oh
Music
man.
Midtown.
But again, I think you'll notice when you guys go, everybody's embracing it.
Yeah.
Like you're
At least it's warm out.
Huh?
It's because it's warm out.
Yes,
I feel like
it is
yeah.
a warm rain.
Yeah.
Thank God people aren't. You're not out there freezing.
Yeah.
I was checking out your all's bio, and a couple of things made me chuckle, and I don't know if you did it for laughs or I wanted you to elaborate. But the fact that you enjoy reading, totally get. Hair, totally get. Hot dogs. Who put hot dogs in there?
It's really funny because actually there are some parts of the bio that were sort of done to very tongue-in-cheek and to be funny.
I
And
thought so.
it was sort of a group effort, our management, and then also our art director who's been working with us for over 10 years. And I believe those last details, that last paragraph
Yes.
that you're
So
reading
like
from.
bonding with elderly as
Yes,
well as
and vampires or something. These were her teasing, sort of. She knows us very well, and sort of her affectionate references to things that we talk about sometimes.
We got it.
The hot dog thing is actually a little bit of a jab at our childhood and how we used to eat a lot of hot dogs when we were growing up, and we always say the kids do that, but we were disgusting when we used to eat them cold, and we used to bring
Right out
them
of
to
the
school,
package.
right out of the package,
Oh,
cold.
okay, that's a little gross.
It was disgusting.
They were so good. It basically is just bologna.
True.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. Hot dog is just like a circle, like it's just bologna, like
Yeah,
in a tube.
it's
basically.
disgusting, but we used to eat that like crazy, and so that was probably her little inclusion of like sort of like a little jab at our trashy past.
It was a trashy past.
Maybe it's
Just
like
a
one of
little-
those things where it's like
where we came from.
when you send your bio out, half the time I truly believe people haven't even read it. So like it's a good sign. If someone brings it up, it means they actually read our bio.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's
It
the
made
red
me chuckle
M&Ms
at
or
the-
whatever, you know, that story about
Yeah.
the band that originally that started that story, the M&Ms thing. They put the brown M&Ms. They wanted the brown M&Ms out, but it was
A
how the
test.
tour manager or the production manager would decide if they had really paid attention to the rider, and and that went across the board, like the rigging, the way that the stage was put together, that if the brown M&Ms were not in the bowl, then they knew that there was an attention to detail.
So everyone would be would be safe.
Everyone would be safe, but if you came in and the brown M&Ms were still in the bowl, then you knew that nobody was really paying attention. And of course now it looks bad on the bands. It's sort of this joke like, oh, do you get your brown M&Ms taken out? But these were these little tricks that people would put in
Smart.
so that they could see how much attention was actually being paid.
See, that's actually genius. People
It's
turn it
genius.
into like diva or
Yeah.
Devo moments
Yeah.
for the band, but in actuality, it's testing out.
It's testing out the production team.
Dude, I
and,
just
you know.
passed the test.
You
Yeah,
did. You
you
passed the
did.
test.
Fine.
You really did. You really did. Yeah.
Well, Tegan and Sara, I can't thank you enough for taking time out and talking to
Thanks.
us. Your 7th album, Heartthrob and Closer, I love listening to it. We play it constantly on Q100.
Thank you
and
so much.
It's great, as is the video. So
Thank you.
you guys have an awesome time out there.
Thank you so much.
Stay
Rock it
dry.
hard
Or
in the rain.
we
It'll
can't
be
wait.
fun. It'll
Can't
be
wait.
fun.